Well, I'm going to bring in our man Rohit. Rohit, how are you, sir?
Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul.
Where are
Let
you,
me share my screen. Yeah, go
Rohit?
ahead.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm from Singapore.
You are in Singapore. Oh, great. Well, I'm in Geneva, Switzerland, and we've got 80 something plus countries watching and
Oh,
thousands of people
brilliant,
from all over this planet.
brilliant. So let me share my screen.
Okay, over to you, sir.
Thank you.
There it is, buddy.
Yeah, just to reconfirm, you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay. So thanks a lot, Paul, for giving me the opportunity to share my experience. And hello to everyone, 80 plus countries. In next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to share my conservation journey and talk about one of the stakeholders that has not received the attention it deserves. We are talking about biodiversity, of course. And when we talk about biodiversity, unfortunately, we also have to talk about extinction. It is the brutal sort of reality of this field. But talking about extinction and witnessing it personally are two very different things. I have witnessed one. So, this was the last tiger photographed in Cambodia in 2007. There are no more tiger evidences since then. Tigers are gone. And feeling of knowing that the species was there and now it's not there, it's very disturbing. And now the Cambodian government wants to bring the tigers back. But to do that, we have to make sure that all the factors that cause the extinctions are removed. But what are those factors? Why did we lose the tiger? And I think this slide to me summarizes the problem best. So there are more people living outside the circle than inside the circle. And this small circle also represents the some of the most biodiverse regions of the world. So now you can imagine the pressure our biodiversity is facing from human population. Now let me bring you back to Cambodia. So the park where we last photographed tiger, where I started my career 17 years back, is 3,700 square kilometers with 150 ranges. And now I live in Singapore, 700 plus square kilometers with 44,000 policemen. In last 14 years in this region in Southeast Asia, we have lost forest equal to 400 Singapores and one Italy. That's the pressure biodiversity is facing in this region. So the question is, why are we not able to protect the forest? Why are we not able to protect the wildlife species? Who is responsible for protecting these species? While rangers are, they are the dedicated men and women working 24 into 7 to protect the nature and natural resources that we all depend on. But why are they not able to do it? What challenges are they facing? I will let you read these lines. They came from a ranger I met 10 years back. And in a way, these lines summarizes the challenges rangers are facing. Now, the challenges in Southeast Asia are not very different from across the globe. Rangers are facing challenges, similar challenges across the globe. And I'm going to talk about some of these challenges here. Rangers are doing a very dangerous job. Like when we did the survey, we found out that 80 plus percentages of rangers said that they are doing a dangerous job because they have to fight with armed loggers, armed poachers, and then organized criminal gangs. At the same time, they are also sort of attacked by the very wildlife they are protecting. So they are doing a dangerous job. And this graph verifies the threat that rangers are facing. This shows the number of rangers who have died in the line of duty since 2009. And as you can see, the numbers are increasing every year. We have lost 1,100 plus rangers since 2009. And these are the numbers we know of. There might be several other rangers who were not recorded. At the same time, they are facing the threat. Half of them don't even have insurance, a basic life or health insurance. Now let's talk about their welfare. 43% of the rangers do not have basic equipments. When I say basic equipments, I'm talking about uniform, boots, raincoats, and stuff like that. So when people come to me saying that, oh, can we give drones to rangers? Well, no, rangers need boots. Don't give them drone. Many of them don't have access to communication devices. That means when they are working in remote locations, they need help. They can't ask for help because there is no connectivity. They don't have access to medical treatment they need. Many of them had malaria in last 12 months. Many of them had infectious diseases. So the challenges in terms of the welfare rangers are facing is immense. Now, 80 plus country participants, some of the things, and including us, like we think that these are basic necessities. Well, rangers do not have access to these basic things like clean drinking water, toilets. So these are the basic things which rangers don't get. Some of you may have seen the report that was released earlier this week by WHO. And in short, what the report says that if you are working for more than 55 hours a week, then you are at risk of stroke or heart diseases. While rangers work for 72 hours a week. So that's the challenge, the stress rangers are going through. Now, I think we also need to talk about their family life. They are not able to spend enough time with their families because they are in a remote location. It takes days sometime to reach to the village or the city or the town where their families are. And I think the best summary of this challenge is a quote from a ranger that we met in Central Africa. He said his son calls him uncle because he goes to his house once in few months. And that put a lot of mental pressure on rangers. So are they trained? No. Actually, 34% of them have never received the training to do their job. And when we talk about training, I'm not talking about tech training, some basic training. For example, 76% of them have not received basic first aid training that can save their lives, actually. So they are not trained as well. Women rangers, the challenges are even much, much bigger. There are only 8% of the ranger workforce are women. And they are facing a lot more challenges, right from violence to harassment to being always compartmentalized to admin work when they want to do the on-ground protection work, discrimination, all sort of challenges that female rangers are facing. And I want to share this recent incident. A couple of months back, a young forest ranger in India, she committed suicide. She shot herself with her service revolver. And when she did it, she was 5 months pregnant. Imagine the stress she was going through, stress she was going through that she has to take such an extreme step. She wrote a 5-page long suicide note where she highlighted the challenges she was facing as a ranger and as a woman in the ranger workforce. So this is one big challenge within the ranger workforce. Now, okay, rangers are facing challenges, but do we have enough rangers on the ground? And I will stop here for 5 seconds. I want all the participants to guess how many rangers are there in the world. Think of a number in your head, and then I'll tell you how many are there. While there are more hairdressers in the UK than rangers in the world. That's the reality. We just simply don't have enough people on the ground to protect the biodiversity. And that's one of the biggest challenge. We just don't have people. Pandemic, COVID-19 has further impacted the the life of rangers. In last 12 months, we have lost 4 times more rangers than the global average for past 10 years. Many ministries are facing budget cuts. That means rangers are being laid off. Uh, Many rangers have lost their jobs. Their salaries are delayed, and the supplies are delayed. So rangers, the COVID-19 situation has further negatively impacted the ranger workforce. Now, how do we address this? And I think to address it, we need to talk about the role of rangers. And we need to sort of rebuild the narrative around rangers. Rangers have always been talked around, they are protecting charismatic species. Yes, they are protecting charismatic species, but they are doing a lot more. And that is very important to convey this. It is very important to convey that message. They are managing fire. They are building water holes. They are educating communities. They are sort of the first line of responders when there are natural disasters. They are helping communities, and we have learned this a lot during pandemic. Rangers are sharing their ration with local communities. At the same time, local communities are providing food to rangers because of the lockdowns. There is no movement, and they are helping each other, and this shows the interdependency between rangers and communities. Ultimately, I call it rangers are planetary health workers because they are the first line of defense. They are the one maintaining the balance between humans and nature. And that balance is really crucial to make sure that there are no more pandemics. And rangers are right there protecting the biodiversity. Before any wildlife products goes to the market, if we can support rangers, we can stop it right there at the root. Rangers are protecting the ecosystem services. And I don't need to go into the detail how much we get out of the ecosystem. But let me give you one number. So according to the research, if you protect 1,000 hectare of a forest, you get 490,000 US dollars worth of services per year. With that amount, you can provide health and life insurance to rangers in Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, and the Philippines. So the return of investment is very high. So if we start supporting rangers, we get a lot more, not just in the form of protecting the forest and the charismatic species, but protecting the wider ecosystem services. But good part is 96% rangers feel proud of what they do. And I think that's a very good thing. We still have rangers, who really feel that this is the thing they want to do. But if we do not change the scenario, if we do not help rangers, then there will be challenges. As of now, we know that there have been cases of rangers misconduct or taking bribes. But if we continue ignoring this stakeholder, there are going to be way more cases. Because at the end of the day, you are talking about a person who is living in a remote location, away from the family, not trained, without access to fresh food, water, paid probably $80 a month, and fighting with armed poachers. How long you can continue, expecting that this person will do the job effectively? It is like, you have a driver who is not trained, the car handbrake is not working, the engine is not very good, airbags are not there, the traffic rules are not great, and the road is really bad. And if the accident happens, you fire the driver. And that's what happens. When there is a success, there are NGOs, government ministries to take credit. But when there is poaching, rangers are the first one to be fired. So we cannot blame them until we give them the resources they need. So is there a hope? Can we do something about it? Yes, there is. In 2019, in the national park in Nepal, at the 9th World Ranger Congress, 550 rangers from 70 countries came together. And this was the largest gathering ever of rangers. And they asked the world, conservation community, private sectors, government agencies to work together to streamline or to reform the ranger workforce, to help them, to make them professional, representative, well-trained, well-equipped workforce. They signed a declaration asking the world community to do that. As a result, this alliance was created last year, Universal Ranger Support Alliance. The alliance job is to help implement the declaration. There is an action plan now for next 5 years, what rangers need and how that can be achieved. And I think this action plan sets a very good direction for the conservation community and beyond to support rangers in a strategic manner. I think those days are sort of, if we continue giving one pair of boot here and one sort of training there, it's not going to work. We need to really look at the ranger workforce in a more holistic manner. So to do the action plan or to implement the action plan, what do we need? Well, of course, we need to support rangers, but we also need to support communities, because communities need rangers and rangers need communities. They are interdependent. And finally, you need political support, because without the political support, we won't be able to bring the changes we are trying to bring, because what we are talking about here is reforming the ranger workforce. And that can't be done without the support of political decision makers. I'm sure this has been discussed quite a few times at the festival. So everybody talks about now 2030 targets. We need to have 30% of the world protected. Well, we need 14 million rangers to protect what we have now. If we want to protect 30%, calculate how many more rangers do you need. And no government is going to recruit millions and millions of rangers overnight. It's just not going to happen. So what is the solution? Well, we have to think of rangers beyond uniformed people. How do we bring communities? How do we make them the rangers? How do we engage indigenous people in protecting the forest? Because they can be, we have been talking about boots on the ground for so long. Maybe it's also the time to talk about flip-flops on the ground. How do we support, how do we fill the gap by bringing communities into conservation? Finally, I leave you with this slide. I have been privileged enough, not as privileged as Paul, to travel around the world and see wild places and wild species. I'm doing this to make sure that my daughter is able to do the same. She'll be able to travel to the places and see wildlife species. And if we want these wild places to survive, then we have to support rangers. Thank you very much.
Wow, Rohit, thank you so much, sir. You brought back a lot of great memories. I was at the Sydney World Parks Congress in 2014.
Right.
And the highlight for me, it was a big event. These events, it was at the Sydney Olympic Centre, amazing, 10 days, I think it was. And one of the highlights for me is when after the Rangers talk, and I can't quite remember his name who did it, but it was a really great talk. All of the Rangers in the region came in and stood in the front for a recognition. And it was a really lovely, moving moment. And he had talked about, just as you have done, this thing about Rangers with not much gear, as you said, sometimes basic stuff missing, no boots, and certainly no, weapons or any sort of legal framework, being attacked by people in helicopters with machine guns. And I still remember these images, just as you've done a wonderful job there of using your comparative statistics. And it did make me laugh, but in a good way, that there's more hairdressers in the UK than there are rangers in the world. And this whole comparison that you have between the beautiful wild places that we're all working so hard to protect and the urban environment, how we look after the urban side of things with laws and enforcement officers and all the rest of it, and robust frameworks. And here's the most valuable thing we have on this planet, our beautiful nature and ecosystems with very little protection at all. I had a quick look at at this website here that you put us onto, Universal Ranger Support. This sounds really good. Is it something that you helped form up, Rohit?
This was, Paul, a direct outcome of the 9th World Ranger Congress, because before that there has been World Ranger Congresses, and what happens, in many of these meetings, you develop a declaration, then everybody forgets about it, and then you go to the next one. This time, what Rangers said, okay, now we want the conservation community to really come together and do something about it, because I feel if we continue working individually, then we won't be able to bring the change we want to bring. Because we are talking about, for example, let me give you a very simple example. International Labour Organization does not even have rangers in their occupation list. How do you talk about labor rights when the occupation is not even listed in the ILO? So if you can bring those changes if you bring the conservation community together. And that's what happened after this. We all came together. At this point, there are 8 conservation organizations, including International Ranger Federation, working together to sort of take this work forward. This is going to grow. We want a lot more regional, national organizations to join.
It's interesting, really. You've uncovered something here. This sort of unseen element about rangers. I mean, these days, as you rightly say, we're in this COVID-19 pandemic, and it's given me a lot of hope, Rohit, in many ways. I mean, it's been an extraordinarily difficult period for us to manage, but I've never seen such a high level of awareness of the value of nature.
Yeah.
And so we're all excited, and we're hearing from all of everybody, including us, about, great things are going to happen because we've connected global economies, smart decision making in politics and business with the people at the front line, which is a silver thread that I've always, pushed and supported. And that's what gets us out of the tent every morning. This kind of thing. But of course, that is broken if we can't manage these places properly.
Absolutely. And then I think, to be honest, Paul, there has been I think there was probably you being a traveler, you will understand this much better, that there has been sort of a Netflixy world of ranger, which I fully understand that rangers do a dangerous job. Law enforcement is a significant part of their work, but they do a lot more. And I think we have to move away that Netflixy world to the real world of rangers and the challenges they are facing, whether it's their family challenges or the stress they are going through. And I think that needs a much more holistic narrative rather than just law enforcement, because it does excite people that, rangers putting green color on their face, jumping, hiding in a bush. But 90% rangers don't do that. They do it only for filming purpose. They don't have boots. So I think we need to sort of tell a much more holistic story on rangers, and that will really make a difference.
And do you sense, can you sort of feel some uplift? I mean, it's brilliant that you put us onto the Universal Ranger Support Organization, but can you feel that we're really getting somewhere? Because it seems crazy, Rohit. A lot of our conservation regions are protected by the support of ecotourism. Up to now, it's been a pretty good business model, to be fair. If it's done properly, it can be good. But now people aren't traveling, as you know better than all of us. People aren't traveling, so it means that some of these regions are going down, the communities are struggling, which exposes the very thing that we're trying to protect. So it has a double hit. I must say, I was a bit disappointed that some of our billionaires, and if any of you are watching, this is a great opportunity. We know that there are so many people who have actually made a lot of money during this pandemic period. And it just seems to be a great opportunity to whoever's made an extra few billion out there how about funding some of the support for these communities that previously relied on, ecotourism? Then it feels that there is money out there is political will, but it's just that if it's missing on the ground, it's hard to think how we're getting somewhere. And I look at you, and I've read your material for the book, which is excellent, by the way, and I listened to your speech, and I've followed all of your links, and it seems to me that you've delivered it for someone to really make some smart leadership decisions. Do you feel it's going to happen?
Thanks, Paul. And I'm really optimistic. And why I say this, and let me give you two examples. At the World Ranger Congress, we had an ILO chair, and who literally said to us that he never heard of rangers. And when he read the report that we shared with him, his quote was, "Ranger working conditions are worse than sweatshop workers in China." And then very recently, actually last week, World Health Organization saying that rangers are the important piece in One Health approach. And I think we need to take the discussion to that level if we really want to see the reforms. These small things are quite good. Yes, we do need to continue supporting rangers, but at the same time, we need to take ranger agenda beyond these charismatic species. They are the real planetary health workers. And I give you another very simple example. I'm keeping an eye on the time. So for example, at this point, if you want to bring the change, who do you go to? Ministry of Environment in the country. In 99.9% countries, Ministry of Environments are the least powerful ministries. They do not make majority of the decisions. But when you talk about ranger health, when you get into the ILO, when you go into WHO, then you can talk to health ministries. Then you can talk to labor ministries. That can bring the real difference. And I think I'm very optimistic we can really make the difference.
Wow, Rohit, you've given us a lot of information to think about, and you've really brought it to life. And it's about time, I think. What's your next steps? What we can all do, I'm not sure how many people I'm speaking to, but it's a hell of a lot across 80 plus countries. What we can all do, can't we, is we can support Rohit and his work towards the Rangers by firstly becoming aware. Go onto the website, have a look, follow Rohit's work. We can do all that. But just to wrap up, Rohit, the last words are yours. And what are you going to do next?
Right. So 2 points here. I think one thing what we need to do is create awareness. So whenever you go on a safari in Africa, whenever the COVID-19 restrictions are over, when you see a tiger or an elephant, you need to understand there are people who are giving their lives to protect those species. And we sometimes don't understand that value. So create awareness about rangers. Second, this next 5-year action plan is a very ambitious plan. It cannot be delivered without the cooperation and support of wider conservation community, private sector, and government agencies. Thanks.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was absolutely fantastic, Rohit. You've really opened up my eyes, and you've had the opportunity, and I'm sure it's been very effective. I can't speak for everybody watching and listening, but I'm sure you've opened up a lot of eyes. And good luck with your work coming up. We'll all be watching. And thanks so much again for bringing this to us. Absolutely brilliant. Wow.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks a lot.
We need to get you a medal. How do you get medals?
Well, I have my medal here.
Oh, that's right. Fantastic. See you, Rohit. Hope to see you in the wild places sometime. Yeah.